What is probably the most frustrating thing in subscriber surveys is that half the audience is still on the sidelines. They're still looking for that lightning bolt of inspiration, that perfect side hustle idea. And the big thing that comes up over and over again is just this willingness to experiment, where I don't know what's going to happen, but I got to test it out. So average side hustle data, and I think this is 2024, a little over $1,100 a month. And it's going to be skewed because that big chunk of the audience is still kind of in that $0 to $100 phase, right? For the last 12 years, I have been super, super grateful to host the Side Hustle Show, closing in on 700 episodes of, well, how'd you come up with that idea? How'd you get your first customers? How'd you grow that thing? The curiosity that drove it in the early days still fires strong today. There are ways to kind of start your side hustle snowball rolling. And what I mean by that is like itemizing out your expenses from lowest to highest.
All right, everybody. Entrepreneurs know, and especially the most successful entrepreneurs know, we're always looking for the next best thing, aren't we? And I guess a polite way of saying that is we're looking for a little side hustle. Sometimes the most valuable thing in your business is the thing you might hate the most, or what is costing you the most, and it's an expense. So today we have an expert in side hustles and maybe even turning that annoying thing in your business into a profit center, maybe even your biggest business yet. So before I introduce our guests, I want to introduce my co-host, Chris Gray. Chris, what's going on?
Dmitri, what up?
I'm living the dream. Excited to talk side hustles with Nick Loper. Nick, tell us about you.
For the last 12 years, I have been super, super grateful to host the Side Hustle Show, closing in on 700 episodes of, well, how'd you come up with that idea? How'd you get your first customers? How'd you grow that thing? The curiosity that drove it in the early days still fires strong today. So that's what I'm best known for on the internet. Accompanying that is the sidehustlenation.com website, just a collection of resources for people looking for side hustle ideas and trying to figure out, well, how am I going to get some extra income coming my way?
Nick, you've interviewed, I don't know how many people. Obviously, you have so many reps when it comes to talking to people who have successful side hustles. But I want to talk about something the opposite of that. And the people you've talked to, like, when they're telling stories about things that went wrong, or just in general in your experience, where do people go wrong when it comes to starting a successful side hustle?
What is probably the most frustrating thing, and this is year after year in subscriber surveys, is that half the audience is still on the sidelines. They're still looking for that lightning bolt of inspiration, that perfect side hustle idea. And so that's the biggest mistake. It's like waiting for that perfect idea to come along. It's like, I don't know if it exists, but if there's something that that you're excited enough to take that first step, you may not know steps 2 through 10, but it's like something and you'll find that once you get started like that, positive momentum breeds motivation and more momentum to do the next thing. And so it's like, it's very, very frustrating to see people just kind of watching, it's like Richard Branson, business opportunities, business ideas are like buses. There's always another one coming. At a certain point, you're going to have to get on the bus.
I think what a lot of people are afraid of in taking that first step is, how long is it going to take until I actually get some of that positive momentum? And what if I step in and it's just hard and I'm losing money and I'm spending a lot of time? Like, how long is this going to take?
It can take a while, especially if you're pursuing a content-based business or an audience-based business, where it's like, I'm going to try and put this body of work out into the world and hopefully somebody's going to pay attention to it. Faster business models. I mean, even starting with like gig economy stuff, like I sign up for Uber, sign up for DoorDash, like you'll be making money by the end of the week. I think there's plug and play opportunities where it's like you can hit that money milestone pretty quickly, or you can try reselling stuff out of your garage, flipping stuff on Craigslist or on Facebook Marketplace. I think there's definitely certain options that are faster to that first revenue milestone than others. But you have to kind of align it with your goals too. It's like, well, if I fast forward 3, 4, 5 years and I have a reasonable level of success with the thing, is that a win? It's like, if I'm doing the DoorDash thing, yeah, it's a great stopgap. It's a near-term plug-and-play solution, but in 5 years, it's probably going to look a lot like tomorrow. And like, well, I don't know, is that 15, 20 bucks an hour really going to be meaningful to you? Or you want to try and build something that has some more scale and leverage to it?
I got a comment and a question. The comment is, speaking of side hustles, Nick, you need to go read Audible books for people or something. I just love your voice. There's something so soothing and smooth about your voice. I told you that before. I'll tell you it again. The question is, a lot of the people who are listening to this or watching this already have businesses. And they're like, okay, I have this business and it's doing well. It's kind of going, everything's great. I'm looking for the next thing and I don't know what to do. For that person who started a business and they're trying to go do the next thing and they don't know where to start, what advice would you give them?
Yeah, there's this element of, because I'm very much guilty of the shiny object syndrome, and it's difficult having my job talking with amazing entrepreneurs every week. It's like I should totally be doing that thing. How come I don't have a bunch of vending machines? Or how come I should totally start a power washing business? It's like, no, stay focus, stay in your lane, kind of a thing. And so trying to follow the rule of, okay, simplify first, diversify second, right? If you have something that's working, that is something that a lot of people will never achieve, right? If you have product market fit, if you have some positive momentum and traction, like, could you squeeze more out of that? Could you leverage more out of that before getting distracted and trying to find the next thing? And you might find, well, maybe there's something, not a complete 180 from what you're doing, but just off to the side. And maybe it becomes kind of a natural progression or natural next step. And we've got some examples of that in the Side Hustle Show archives of people not, doing some complete 180 pivot, but instead saying, well, what do I already know how to do? What niche or industry am I already playing in? And how could I find something like adjacent to that? And so it's not completely out of left field. An example comes to mind as a teacher friend of mine. And it's like, there's this big interest in personal finance education, especially at the high school level. Like, I'm already teaching this with my students, but other teachers nationwide are having a harder time coming up with this curriculum. So he, bundled up, packaged up some of that curriculum and put that up for sale on a platform called Teachers Pay Teachers. And he's making a couple grand extra a month doing that on the side from his teaching salary, and it's kind of continually grown year after year as he's added more products and gotten better on the marketing side.
I think that's a great point, is it doesn't have to be something completely new or different. You can be the same exact thing that you're doing for one audience and you're selling it to another audience. So what sounds like, well, actually, let me ask you, Nick, what percentage, and I love numbers, okay, so I'm going to ask for a percentage of the side hustle people that you've interviewed were doing pretty much the same thing, just to a new audience?
And that's really interesting. I don't have the exact percentages, but I have done the research to find that more guests started with a service-based business than any other. And that's not always where they end up, because it's like the common pushbacks. Well, I'm already trading time for money at my day job. Why do I want to do that on the side? Or, do I really want to build myself into a second job? But people start there and they build those skills of selling themselves or selling some value proposition. And then, maybe they go build an agency, they find other people to go handle the fulfillment, and they work on product, they work on marketing, they work on ops. But sometimes it starts there. There's one example kind of in that field came from Liz Wilcox. She was like she ran a copywriting agency, copywriting business. People would hire her for kind of these full website revamps and like sometimes $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 projects. But she was like, it bothered her that she was starting from scratch every month. It's like kind of very much what's the phrase? Like, eat what you kill kind of a phrase, where it's like, every month, how are we going to make it? I've got, my costs are fixed, my income is very variable, right? And so what she started doing was like, well, I've been doing this for years. I have this body of templates that I'm pulling from. Like, what if I could package up and sell those on a very low cost monthly subscription? Every week or every month, we'll send you a handful of these templates that you could use for your church newsletter or your local marketing newsletter or your book group or whatever the use case was. But she ended up getting hundreds and hundreds of members to pay her $9 a month for these email templates that were largely already created. And so it was kind of layering on to something that she'd already built. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes perfect sense. Then what do you I'm not sure how to put this question. I'll just put it out there. Is then in your experience, when it comes to these people, kind of just finding something off to the side of what they do, how do they usually go about it? Is it, I'm selling this thing and I saw that there's this other problem that's happening as a result, and I'm going to solve for that? Or is it like, hey, I'm selling wood for smoking. Oh, look at the dust. I can put it in wood chips and sell that as pellets or something. Like, what do you usually see? Is it a problem, or is it like somebody coming up with an idea like you just talked about, if that question makes sense?
I think a lot of the times it's going to come from customer conversations where it's like, you don't have to have all the answers. Like the customers have the answers, right? It's like kind of what are the pain points that they're dealing with. We had a guy on just this week, and his business model was, I'm going to build these local lead generation sites where the formula was, city name plus service. And I can rank for carpet cleaning Dallas or gravel driveways Boston or something. And now I got to go find a tenant. I got to go find a qualified service provider who wants these leads, who's hungry to grow their business and has the capacity to do it. And in the conversations with prospects, with potential service providers, a lot of them weren't great fits, but they were like, could you help us with our website? Could you help us with our local SEO? It's like once he had people on the phone and kind of built some trust and rapport, all of a sudden it was like, well, that wasn't what we were trying to sell, but people kept asking for this other thing. They're like, well, sure, we can also do that, or we can kind of layer that on. And so that was a really interesting example of, well, that wasn't the hypothesis going in, but if people want to give me money, I'll figure out how to do it.
We know a lot of people that are looking to get into side hustles. And I think the question I would have in their shoes would be, do I follow my passion? And this is like a common college kid, right? Like, do I follow my passion or do I follow the money? And based on the interviews that you've had, several hundred, over 500, of the ones that, let's say, did follow their passion versus follow the money, which ones were better off financially and personally?
Yeah, I really like this topic because personally, passion kind of stresses me out. I'll get your guys' take on this too. It's like, well, what are you passionate about? And people are passionate about the fun stuff, smoking meat and craft beer and golf and football. And it's like, if you're passionate about it, probably a lot of other people are too. And when people are passionate about stuff they do, they're willing to work for free in a lot of cases. It's like, I don't know if I want to compete in that market. In fact, we had Nick Huber on the show from Sweaty Startup, and he's like, under no circumstance do I want you starting a business around your passion. Start a business around what problem you could solve. I want to compete with these, people who haven't updated their website in 25 years. They have like fax me for a quote. They're just outdated marketing practices. It's going to be so much easier than competing with the next guy who wants to write a barbecue blog because he loves smoking meat. It's like, yeah, I agree. That's a harder place to play. The passion side, we had another guest on who was like, well, okay, my passion was music. So I started teaching these music lessons. And within 45 days, I killed my passion because it was no longer fun. I made it work. I killed it. It was like, so there's a certain risk around there. And what I found is, and this is like my story with podcasting, like no passion for podcasting starting out. It's like, I don't even know what it is, how it works, no idea what I'm doing. But I found over the course of putting in the reps and doing the work for week after week, year after year, it's like it has become a passion of mine. There's some research from Dan Pink and Cal Newport to back this up. It's like passion tends to follow doing the work rather than the other way around. And so once you find something that you're good at and you enjoy doing, you find you become passionate about it. You become more interested and excited and curious to develop some mastery around that thing. Am I making sense here? What's your guys' take on the passion versus follow the money kind of thing?
You hit the nail on the head with me. I can go real quick then, Dmitri. You can take it if you want, but like what Nick said is 100% true. I met Nick through his show, Side Hustle Podcast, and my side hustle, I took a passion with barbecue seasoning and started selling it. So I love smoking food. Ask me right now the last time I smoked food. In a long time. Long time. I only do it on Christmas when we have people coming over, or if we're having big get-togethers, because I took my passion and then made it a job, and now I don't do it as much anymore. So Nick, I side with you on that one.
Yeah, it's okay to have hobbies that stay hobbies.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it should be. A passion is your hobby. But if you start a side hustle or even your main business and it's making money, all of a sudden you're going to be liking it quite a bit. Like, yeah, I'll go work on that. I'm going to make even more money. It gets exciting. And you might actually love the work itself eventually. So why not? I mean, sounds great.
It's trying to approach it with like a childlike excitement and curiosity. Like our kids have started a YouTube video or YouTube channel this summer. And it's like inspired by Dude Perfect and like lots of trick shots and stuff. And they're like, hey, the new video already has 16 views. That's awesome. And it's like for anybody like serious creators, like, Jesus Christ, 16 views. What are we even doing with our lives? But they're like, hey, that's really cool. And it's like, they're having so much fun being creators rather than just consumers and learning, setting up the shot and the video editing and everything that goes into it and the persistence of trying to make a trick shot, sometimes 50 or 100 attempts before it lands. Trying to encourage that, I think, is really, really kind of fun to see.
So you've dropped some gems here so far with all the experience you've had with talking to all these entrepreneurs and, people finding a side hustle that's a one-off of something they're already successful at, or solve a problem, don't chase your passion. What other big lessons have you learned from all these entrepreneurs you've talked to?
The big thing that comes up over and over again is just this willingness to experiment where I don't know what's going to happen, but I got to test it out. And there's this old video from Brian Harris where he basically says, that's your one job as an entrepreneur is chief figure outerer. Basically, every time I'm going to run into a ceiling, I don't know. I've never done that before. I got to figure it out. Okay. What happens next? I don't know. We'll figure it out. It's like, that's what the day to day is. Like, I don't know. I never had this. Got to figure it out. And so there's that in combination with the kind of like side hustle scientist mindset of, well, let's test something. So just today I found out that, hey, YouTube, allow auto ad placements or something. And when I went to look, they went nuts with that. Like every 2 to 4 minutes, they would put an ad. He's like, can you imagine 18 commercial breaks over the course of this hour-long episode? I was like, Jesus, this is like an awful, awful listener viewer experience. And so we went in and like deleted 75% of them. And that's an experiment. It's like, I imagine it's probably going to take a little bit of a revenue hit, but maybe it offsets with better watch time, better engagement. It's like, I don't know what the result of that experiment is going to be, but it's just something that comes to mind as a test literally today.
YouTube gets pretty crazy with that. And even I'm a YouTube ads guy. And most of the time, I mean, I know it's good practice to see what the competitors are doing with ads, but it's like, okay, I got to go to YouTube Premium for a little bit and just just let me watch the show. Okay, Nick. So there's people who got their business, starting their side hustle. Is it ever the case where the side hustle becomes the main business?
Yeah, and a lot of times I think that's probably the dream for a lot of people is getting it to the point where it can replace an income. Maybe for most people it's the day job. Maybe the day job becomes optional, or in the case of it's the original business, it's like, well, we could sunset this, we could divest that, we could sell that, and focus on this new thing. And that's kind of been my journey too. It's like first off, the original side hustle. That was what let me quit the day job. That was a comparison shopping site for footwear. If I want to date myself in internet years, like this was 2006-ish, early on, trying to get things started. And then built a handful of projects on the side from that, including the Side Hustle Show and Side Hustle Nation website. And it was like, as that business was ramping down, the other ones were ramping up. And so it's kind of the natural flow of a lot of these things.
You mentioned some of the, again, you have a whole library of these side hustles, the people you talk to, and you mentioned of the copywriter and somebody else that I'm forgetting right now. What other examples do you have of people who have done the one-off thing where they had something going great and they slightly pivoted and that made a bunch of money or became the main thing?
A friend of mine in New Hampshire studied for the real estate exam, became a real estate agent, found out he was okay at it, didn't love it. It was like taking clients out to look at houses. One interesting thing that he did was like he used some of his tech skills and built this directory, this database that pulled in the MLS data. And it was like NH, like New Hampshire lakefront homes or like waterfront. It was some version of that, like location plus waterfront. It's like, I'm only going to focus on these like luxury listings. And so I got that site ranking. And then he set it up on a lead generation basis with other agents and not just like on a, hey, give me $500 for this buyer's lead. It was like a percentage of the $1 million house sale or something. So he would earn a commission of the eventual buyer's agent commission just for like forwarding an email and like doing a little introduction. It was like, that was a pretty good spin-off. It only takes a few of those introductions every year to make a pretty good side hustle.
It seems like for most people, they have some kind of idea or passion project, not a passion project, whatever. A money-making project. I don't want to say passion again in this company, but just kidding. It seems like there's a certain level of efficiency or productivity or time management that it takes. And Nick, you're known for productivity. What can you advise?
Yeah, this is the constant challenge where the grass is always greener, and like, well, once I quit my job, I'm going to have all this extra time, or once I, clean out my inbox, I'm going to have all this extra time. Once I get back from vacation, it's like the time never comes. Like there's more ideas, there's more stuff on the to-do list than there are hours in the day. And so what has been really helpful for me is kind of itemizing out the top 3 priorities for the next day, the night before. And I have my own, like built for my own personal use, called the 3-question journal. There's very simple nightly prompts. What I get done today, right? I'm going to celebrate those wins. What did I make progress on? What am I grateful for? Like, I think that gratitude habit is really important. And it's like you find yourself noticing more and more stuff during the day. Like, oh, I'm going to remember to put that down. Like just like little happy moments, grateful moments. And then the 3rd question is, well, how am I going to win tomorrow? What am I going to get done tomorrow? What are my top priorities for the next day? And so that way I know what yesterday Nick told me was going to be important. So I can tackle at least one of those, if I'm being honest, at least one, but hopefully 2 or 3 before diving into reactive mode, checking email, checking social media, and responding to other people's agenda. I want to make sure I'm moving my own priorities, my own agenda forward before reacting to other people's. And that simple thing has been so powerful in moving the needle and doing what's important in the business.
Nick, you have a very successful podcast, and me and Dmitri obviously have one. Obviously, we're sitting here talking on it, but like it's hard, especially nowadays with so much competition, so many podcasts to choose from. So, what do you think? What do you think it is about your podcast that's one of the reasons why it's become so successful and so popular?
I wish I had the secret sauce. I've got some theories. Obviously helpful to start 12 years ago, but barring that, if you're starting today, what I look at it through is this lens called climbing the listener pyramid. So if you imagine a 4-tiered pyramid, the bottom layer, the bottom level, unfortunately, the biggest level is strangers, people who don't know you exist. They never heard of your show. They never heard of you. The next level is listeners, people who have given you a chance. They're like, all right, I'll click on that. I'll tune in. I'll see what this is all about. The next level is fans. Or the next level is subscribers. Sorry. These are the people who tune in regularly. They are subscribed to your email list. They're routine followers. You're in their earbuds. You're in their world pretty consistently. And then the top of the pyramid, where you want to ascend as many people as you can to, is fans. These are the people that buy your stuff. These are the people that evangelize your work. They spread the word. And, that's like the pinnacle, right? That's kind of what you aim. And every piece of content is designed to step people up the pyramid. And so on the discovery side, it's like we got to have compelling titles. I was a guest on an episode early on, and bless this guy. I don't know if he's still doing the show, but he's like, did what you're supposed to do. Hey, Nick, thanks so much for joining me. Your episode is live today. And I click and it says like episode 33, Nick Loper. And I'm like, time out. What's in it for me? Why would anybody ever click on this thing? And so that's something I try to do. I've learned very early on in the show, like episode 5 was like how this guy earned enough money on Fiverr to buy a house in a year. It was like something almost clickbaity, where it's like, because it's like, it's audio. There's such a hurdle to get somebody to find their podcast app, search for your specific show, find the specific episode you're talking about, dedicate the 45 minutes to listen to the thing. Like, it's a big ask. It's a big hurdle. So it's got to be compelling enough to get people to go through those hoops. On the subscriber side, you'll hear lots of episode-specific lead magnets on the Side Hustle show. Hey, we just did an episode on building out directory websites. We mentioned using Ahrefs as a research tool. Like, hey, time out. It's a paid subscription. Don't worry. I'm already a customer. We did the research for you. You can download the spreadsheet here as a listener bonus. That's an email opt-in. We do listener like custom curated playlists as an email opt-in. Do all sorts of stuff to try and convert an anonymous one-off listener into a subscriber. Like, come back in, hit that follow button, text a friend. Like, we want to make sure to try and get people into that world, into that ecosystem. And then for fandom, in my case, it is the moment of fandom usually happens when somebody takes action and sees a result. Okay, I listened to this episode. I put that into practice. I made an extra $1,000. Like, now I'm a believer. I see the light and I'm spreading the word.
Yeah, and similarly to a side hustle, a podcast is a side hustle, and it was for you, Nick, initially. Was that taking a leap of faith into, I'm going to go and try this, and then hopefully I get some positive feedback and momentum at some point? So what does that look like in the podcast world?
It was very much a side hustle, $60 mic, corner of the living room. Is anybody going to tune into this? And it was, and I was legitimately nervous, right? Like, did the world need another entrepreneur interview podcast? Like, there was already, it felt crowded. Even in 2013, it felt like, I think the side hustle specific angle resonated with people. Like, oh, this is the one for me. I'm working a day job. Versus a lot of the narrative was like, oh, coming out of Silicon Valley, an entrepreneur, somebody who jumps out of the airplane and figures out how to build their parachute on the way down, to butcher the Reid Hoffman line. But that was like, well, that's kind of stressful. That's not really realistic for a lot of people. So, like, let's present it in a different way, or a more realistic path to entrepreneurship. But I was worried I was going to run out of ideas, going to run out of people to talk to. Like, do I commit to doing this every week? Like, I don't know. How long is it sustainable? So, but still going. And I think that's something that a lot of people struggle with. I just got back from Podcast Movement in Dallas, and it was like 90% of the people who start a podcast don't get past episode 3. It's like, that's a big part of it. It's like, it's not as crowded as it might seem, because most people give up.
So, but to follow up on that is, at what point maybe should they give up? Or like, how long do they need to give it?
So, to be transparent, it's probably 3 years of effort before the podcast on its own was generating what could reasonably be considered like a decent income in terms of sponsorship dollars. But what I found was I was seeing enough traction, enough growth, enough momentum there. And I found I enjoyed doing it. I was building my network. There were some other benefits to doing that, whereas like and it kind of became a part of my identity versus just like, because I mean, you've seen the meme of the guy like turning around right before he hits the diamond strike. And it's like, well, had you just kept going? It's really hard to know what that is in the moment. And historically, my answer is, well, when do you quit the side hustle? It's like when you come to dread the work, when it becomes a second job that you hate. Like, yeah, that's not worth doing for any amount of money. It's like, no. You have limited hours, you have limited years on this earth. It's like, if it sucks, why are you doing it? Especially if you have the choice not to.
Nick, we have the, AI is all the talk the last 2 or 3 years or so. And it's the whole, AI is going to take our jobs, and shout out to South Park. But anyways, you have that going on. And the question I have for you is, you're sitting here talking to all these entrepreneurs. Are you seeing AI be used effectively to generate revenue as a side hustle?
It's definitely been an ebb and a flow, right? So there are some side hustles that have been murdered by AI, kind of like low-level voiceover work, low-level video scripting, low-level copywriting, low-level transcription, where it's like the robots can do it better, faster, cheaper. It's like, you're going to have to level up your skills or go play a different game. And then on the SEO side too, I mean, Side Hustle Nation has been affected by this as much as anybody, where it's like we used to rank really well and sometimes still rank really well, but now it's like there's this huge AI summary at the top of the page that pushes everybody else down. It's like, well, so that traffic and the accompanying ad revenue and affiliate revenue is gone. And it's like, that's kind of painful. So trying to adapt. But on the flip side, we've seen AI improve efficiencies in other areas. Like, okay, we can create stuff better, faster, cheaper now. We can, we've done a couple episodes like on vibe coding type of stuff. I can create this app where I never could have done before, or would have cost, $15,000 in development costs to hire somebody to build it. Or 3 years of trying to learn how to do it myself. So we've seen some examples on that side, less so from the just straight up, we're gonna spam Amazon with AI written books and stuff like that. Like, I don't know how effective that is. I'm sure some people are making it work, but we see it more as a tool to layer onto an existing product or service, to an existing business, rather than like the business itself.
If you don't mind, Nick, I want to get down to some brass tacks with you. I want to talk real numbers, because this all sounds great in theory, but I think most people are going to want to know is like, where are most people landing in terms of income from these side hustles? Are they making a couple hundred a month, thousands? What do we think? What are we looking at? And it goes back to that question of money versus passion. And there's got to be some, definitely a money thing coming in if someone's going to put in the time and effort into it. And I think the dream, by the way, I've talked to some people recently, like everyone's got the same number. Everyone knows what I'm talking about when I say number. Everyone's like, I need $10 million. So I'm going to start a side hustle and I'm going to make $10 million. Like, maybe that's not super reasonable or realistic, but what is realistic?
So average side hustle data, and I think this is 2024, a little over $1,100 a month. And it's going to be skewed because that big chunk of the audience is still kind of in that $0 to $100 phase, right? So once people get started, they're around this $1,100 a month. And it goes even higher than that. We've had a percentage of the audience, maybe 1 in 20, that are like, well, I'm over $10,000 a month. It's like, is it even still a side hustle then? Or is like that now your main thing, right? So we got to specify some of that. And it really, some people I talk to are like, if I could just make an extra $250, pay for my kids' soccer lessons or like cover my car payment. It's like, there are ways to kind of start your side hustle snowball rolling. And what I mean by that is like itemizing out your expenses from lowest to highest. Like everybody wants the one that lets you quit your job, covers the mortgage, covers the rent. That would be great. That would be fantastic. But like, could we cover your cell phone bill? Could we cover your car insurance? Could we cover your gym membership, right? There's different tiers. And I think it's important to kind of celebrate those milestones and like that mental shift of, well, I could erase Netflix this month. Like, hey, it's free this month because now I don't have to pay for that anymore because I offset it with some extra income.
So this is kind of a out of left field question, but I have to ask because at this point you've heard a lot. Like I said, heard about a lot of side hustles, and my question is: if Nick lost the audience tomorrow for some random reason and had to start a side hustle or start something else and make revenue by the end of next month, what are some things that you think you would try given everything that you know now?
Yeah, by the end of next month, like if I have a longer time horizon, then the options open up. But by the end of the next month, it's probably knocking on doors. It's probably pressure washing. It's probably something simple, local, low startup cost where you can talk to customers face to face. You're not relying on any algorithms. You're not hoping that, something needs to go viral or anything. It's just gonna go solve a problem and get paid for it.
And just ran the numbers on the $1,100 a month. So if that's what people can get on average, and we're going to put in a pretty healthy 10% annual return on that, that could be $1 million within 21 years. And then the $10 million number, okay, everyone wants the 10 million, retire forever, financial freedom, et cetera, et cetera. If you're in your 20s, by the time you're in your 60s, you can do it on $1,100 a month. It's $10 million, 43 years.
If you have the discipline to save that, or you can probably double down and reinvest it into the business. It's like, well, hopefully if I found something that's working, I can do better than 8% in the S&P.
You guys talked on Nick's podcast, and Chris, share with our audience. So what's going on with your side hustle?
Oh man. Like I was talking about earlier, I told you this, Nick, when we talked. It's a passion project that turned into a pain in the ass because it's a business now. But I loved smoking food, and I was really into barbecue culture and something I did for fun. I came across a seasoning that I liked. I put it on chicken. Everybody would go nuts over it. So it came to the point where I was like, hey, I can start a restaurant, or I can go sell the seasoning. And when I say sell the seasoning, I actually go white label the seasoning. I'm a marketer, as you know. So I just white labeled the seasoning and did the marketing things. I didn't want a restaurant. I didn't want everything that came along with that. And long story short, it took off relatively fast, and it does well without me doing much with it, to the point where now, which is a question I'm going to turn back to Nick, because now I'm at a spot where I have a main thing. And my main thing, besides the fact that I just do marketing, is completely different. Like, my marketing company has nothing to do with seasoning. And so most of the money comes from marketing, like my marketing businesses. And so, Nick, where I'm at right now, and this is the question I'm going to turn to you, is I'm like, man, this thing could really do something bigger if I would be on it full time, which I'm not going to do. And so I'm at this point where I'm like, should I hire somebody to take this thing over and actually take it to the next level? And I can, and I'm hesitant. So my question to you is, at what point do you start to hire for your side hustle, and who should you hire? Who should be that person you'd plug in?
Yeah, I struggle with control issues, with letting go. But a friend of mine gave me this rule years ago. She called it the rule of two, where it's if it's on the second time you find yourself doing a task and you can foresee yourself having to do it a third, fourth, fifth time, that's the time to hit pause, record the process, document the process, and delegate. Find somebody on your team, find a virtual assistant, find somebody else who can handle this for you, who can follow that recipe and handle that the third, fourth, fifth time and beyond. So that's something that I try to live by and apply to different team members and stuff like that. Today, the team is still pretty lean. Like, it's a bunch of some agencies that I work with, some on-demand contractors and freelancers, but it's trying to fill two different flavors of outsourcing. One is exactly that. It's the stuff that you were doing yourself and don't want to do anymore. And I think that's relatively straightforward to hire for. The second type is, I think, harder, where it's like that next level, more proactive, more analytical hire, where it's like, I don't even know how to do this stuff, but I know somebody out there is good at it. It's like trying to find that culture fit, that fit for that role, a little bit more challenging, and one that I still struggle with myself.
One of the things, and this is not about me, but I'm being selfish here, is I was talking to my wife about this earlier this week. I have somebody who fulfills the orders and all that stuff, right? And they take care of that. I don't really touch it. I have an assistant, and I have somebody who fulfills orders. It all gets ran that way. But the big idea thinking, the things that actually will grow revenue, that's me, because it's control and it's all this, that, and the other. One of my concerns, Nick, again, with control, is that I teach somebody what I'm doing and they take it and leave, which is a scarcity mindset. So what are your thoughts when you hear me say something like that? The fear of bringing somebody in and then them taking my stuff or my ideas and leaving.
Yeah, this was a huge fear of mine too. With my first hire, it was like, they're going to steal my idea. They're not going to do it as good as me. Like, and
yes,
starting out, of course, they're not going to do it as good as you. You've been doing it yourself for 4 years. But they're going to steal my idea has never really materialized. And you could try and enforce, a non-compete or something like that. But we had a guy, his business was like flipping stuff on Amazon. I'm going to go to the clearance aisle of Walmart. I'm going to resell it for more on Amazon. Simple business, but kind of time constrained. Like, there's only so many shelves you can go visit as an individual. So we started hiring other people. And I was like, Ryan, why on earth would they be scanning this stuff? They're going out doing the legwork. They found this profitable item. Why would they buy that for you and not just flip it themselves? And he's like, Nick, you have this entrepreneur mindset. These people have a job mindset. They don't care. They just want their $15 an hour. They don't want to deal with any of the startup costs, any of the capital risks, any of this other stuff. They just want to get paid. And it was like, okay, it did not even compute, did not even click, but it was like really, really interesting to hear.
Yeah. And I think some people are both. Sometimes they have the job mentality and they just need to get paid. They need the guaranteed paycheck. We've all been there, I think. And then, of course, there's the entrepreneur. You want to take the risk. It's exciting. You might lose everything. Been there, done that as well. if you guys want to listen, because I'd be curious, I'm going to go check out Chris's podcast on the Nick's podcast on the Side Hustle Nation podcast. And by the way, you guys need to check out the Side Hustle Nation. I'm on the site right now. And if you go to hustle.show, it's going to take you to the website. And there's this cool survey on here where you fill it out, and it's going to give you the podcast episodes that you should listen to that are most relevant to you based on your answer. I think that's really cool and creative. Brilliant. Nice job on that, Nick.
Yeah, Chris's episode is number 678 in your archives. You find the Side Hustle Show. You can scroll down to 678 and hear Chris's story of selling the barbecue seasoning. It's one of the most popular episodes of the summer. So it did really well.
Not surprising.
Thank you, Nick. I had a lot of fun with that. And again, we had a guest on here recently, Nick. I don't want to talk too long, but he was talking about, he does a lot of podcasts, and he was talking about how he gets on shows and the podcast host will try to be the star and won't give the guest space to be a guest or whatever. Yeah. And so like I started at the beginning of this episode, or when we were doing the pre-shows, that you are a pro and you gave me space to be able to then tell my story. And I've had the experience where that wasn't the case.
Oh, well, thank you for that. That's why it's a great business for introverts. I just point the mic at other people and let them do their thing.
Brilliant.
All right, Nick. So other than the podcast, do you want them to listen to the podcast? Is there anything else that you want them to do? Let's tell them what to do.
Yeah, that's the best place to dive deeper into this world. Start with that playlist generator quiz. It'll spit back out 8 to 10 of our greatest hits episodes. That's at hustle.show. And just give it a few quick, probably 2 minutes of answers about what you're into, what kind of time you have, what are you interested in, and it'll spit back out those episodes.
Now, I'm going to talk about you, the audience, as a pyramid, because if you're seeing any of us for the first time, you're at the bottom of the pyramid. Let's move up the pyramid.
Yeah, okay? Yeah, buddy.
let's get to know each other. Just click the subscribe button, and you're already taking a step to getting to know us better. And do the same thing for Nick's podcast. Go ahead and subscribe there. Take the step. Do a 2-in-1, 2 birds, 1 stone. Wow.
Appreciate
guys, it. We're being efficient here by getting to know each other already. And as a listener bonus, okay, click the link. There's a listener bonus. You get the show notes. You get the summarized version, the step-by-step of how to do what Nick is saying. That's super valuable. And you get it for free because you just took that step and subscribe. So go ahead and do that. Nick, great episode. Thank you for sharing that knowledge. Masterclass on side hustles. And you gave us a lot on productivity and podcasts. Thank you for doing that. Thanks for being on the show.
Yeah, my pleasure. Thanks for having me.